This video is not for everybody, although I recommend that everybody takes heed to this message, but this isn't for everybody. This is a particular prophetic message. Get out of the United States. Get out the United States. Those of you who are here, if you're watching this and you're in another country and you've been feeling led by God to relocate for different reasons, it could be to other places. Listen, everybody's not going to be in the United States. You might be in another country where you're being led to move as well. Perhaps not to the United States, but somewhere. And there are many beautiful places in the world to live. Okay. So for those of you who this is for, and especially for those of you, if you are somebody that's in the United States, I don't care if you've never moved before. I don't care if you don't have a relative overseas. You don't have a relative in Africa. You don't have another place to call home other than the States. Start learning and looking up and making a plan to leave the United States soon as possible. If you have a friend somewhere, if you have a connect, if you have a relative, there's a community that you can get a part of to make you feel more comfortable in making the move that you're being led to make. Do that. Do not let fear, do not let familiarity keep you in a place where you know that God has been telling you to move. Now, even before I get into this, and like I said, let me reiterate before anybody hops in the comments, this isn't for everybody. That ain't for you. Go ahead and click on the next video. I'm talking to specific people here. Very serious and important prophetic message, okay? I wasn't even going to do this prophetic message in this way. And before I came to record, I was like, it was on me, like, this is a prophetic message to give in this way. So I'm going to tell y'all one of the things that hit me as a memory before it came to me, like, record this particular message, right? So I was thinking about it, and I was, thinking about how there were certain things that I was getting prophetically, and how there are certain things that played out in my life that now it's making sense of what the Most High was saying prophetically. So there are certain things, even a lot of y'all are not on Patreon because y'all want to be on the YouTube side of things. But for my Patreons, for the Patreon family, for those who are serious about that spiritual growth and development, we do that on Patreon. And for those of us who've been over there for the past 3 years specifically, there's been specific things that the Most High has been leading us to do in order to prepare us for a time. Since 2020, the Most High had already given me a prophetic vision of a storm coming. There were some YouTube videos I kind of did about that, but we really do the work on Patreon. So I don't just give prophetic messages and run like how many of y'all are just looking for prophetic messages here, this, that, there. Those who are serious about the work and are not looking just for their ears tickled or for some type of entertainment, that's what Patreon is for those who really want to do the work. So I might post a prophetic message here, but we get that action in over there. So over the past couple years in particular, there had been a sign of a storm coming. And I know just not me. I know there's probably other prophetic voices that spoke about that as well. And so the thing about it is, when I think about everything, and especially how things have been lining up, it brings me to a conversation last year, at the end of last year, that I had with a friend that I met through Pretty Boss TV a few years ago. So this friend, I didn't know this friend had went to South Africa. Okay. They went, and I want to say it had something to do maybe with missionary work. I'm not going to say that, but it was definitely related to, doing work in terms of, he's more of a religious person, but doing work for God. Right. So he went down there for that. And I remember I had spoke to him the next day when he came back, because I just coincidentally called him like right when he just got back to America, and I didn't even know that he was gone. And I remember one of the things that he was saying, he was like, it's time. God's been saying that, like, we got to get out the country. We got to leave. I have a feeling, and he was saying, I know he was saying, like, I'm going to Africa. I just went. I love it, and I want to go back. Like, I want to go there. And I was like, no, I said, I ain't been getting that message. I said, I would agree with you that I've been getting a message on a storm coming. But I said, as far as moving and all that, I'm like, no, if I'm being led to do that, God to put that on my heart. But God didn't give me that instruction. Right. And so I'm like, okay, cool. That's what's up. And I totally forgot about that conversation until this particular message hit me, in terms of where I'm hearing a strong do this prophetic message of leave the United States. So then I'm like, yo, that's when I had a memory of that. And I'm like, oh my goodness, he was right about that. Because now I'm getting that part of the prophetic message. I had already been getting the prophetic message of the storm coming, all that. Many of us have known. But the piece that I didn't get until later, which is now, is leave. Public service announcement for those of you who can get out of this country, this God-forsaken country. This God-forsaken country. Leave. Okay? This is serious. And again, this is not for everybody. This is not to fearmonger either. So I don't want anybody listening. If this is not a prophetic message for you, it's not. I'm going to tell you how you know a prophetic message is for you. Before we even get into this, I got some things to say. But you'll know when a prophetic message is for you two ways. One, it'll be confirmation. Like on top of confirmation. Like, oh my God, this is exactly, I already know. Boom. Because we already know God confirms things. God confirms things in twos and threes. God will give you confirmations if it's actually coming from God. God will give it to you multiple ways. So that's the first and most important way I always like to highlight. The second way you know a prophetic message is for you is maybe you didn't get the confirmation. Maybe that's your first message with God giving you that message. So maybe it's not confirmation because it's your first time hearing that message from God. Because we got to get the first message before we can get the second or third confirmation, right? But when you hear something that is for you, that is prophetic, that's coming from the mouth of God in your situation, you're going to know because it's going to literally settle inside of you like immediately. It's going to either leave a seed that you don't forget, or in the moment of hearing it, you're going to be like, oh my God, this is for me. You're going to be tuned into it. Okay, so I want to say that because I know some people, I don't want nobody to be confused. It's not for everybody. This is not fear mongering. If you find you haven't been getting those messages, keep doing what you're doing. Keep voting for who you're voting for. Keep living the dream. But for those of you who understand and have seen and have been being led, many of you can see and many of us can see that the thing we once called the dream is not a dream, but it's actually a nightmare. And it's always been. But again, this is a time where we've been talking about the wealth transfer for a long time prophetically, right? We've been talking about the kingdom of heaven being established on earth. We've been talking about the fact that everything that has been going on, all the dark deeds that have been being done, they're coming to light. They're being exposed. What happened in 2024 with these celebrities? Light work compared to the things that are going to be coming to light over the next years, including in 2025 as well. Look at what manifested for the United States. I don't see that as, something that, oh my goodness, this just happened. That is a manifestation. The fact that the country chose what it chose is a manifestation of the country. That nothing is ever happens and then it's manifest. It's like, no, things that happen are the fruit of the underlying substantial reality. So America's fruit is starting to become more obvious. It's not apples. It's the apples on the floor with the worm coming out the apples, the rotten apples on the floor. We're starting to see the fruit more clearly of the United States. Many people have been seeing that for years, but for those of us who were still missing the memo or holding on to a false dream or hope, it's starting to become more obvious to a lot of people the actual fruit of the United States. Let me tell you, there's going to be judgment coming on the United States. And many are going to feel it. What's getting ready to happen that many people are ignoring and people still watching the Super Bowl and what's the weather going to be tomorrow? Like, things are not crashing and burning in their face very disrespectfully and obviously. There's going to be some rude awakenings. And I'm going to tell y'all this. Regardless of who they put in there, and I'm not saying, no, I can't even say that because I don't need any degenerates in my comments. There was a better option. Was it the best? Absolutely not. They could have had two way better options than both of the options. But the other option there was a chance of life. But people chose death. People chose hate. People chose not out of what they wanted, but they chose because of the things that they hated. And you reap what you sow. And what you think you're doing to another person, you do to yourself. This is law. Get out outside of the politics of it. I have my own personal opinions, all that. We're not even going to get into that. Many of you know I've said my piece many times, and I'm probably going to stay a little bit more here too. But what I want y'all to understand is that this is deeper than what just happened. Because I know some people that hear what I'm saying. They're like, oh, it's just because of the election. One thing about me is I am not a random person. Anything that I do to other people, it might look like sudden, but I'm always being led by God. And then when things manifest to everybody else, it looks so swift, it looks so sudden. But I'm like, people don't know how God had been moving things behind the scenes the whole time. And because a lot of times in my life, I'm confused, just like many of you are. This is why even on Patreon today, the message I was talking about, one of the things that we talked about all last year, walk by faith and not by sight. Why? Because the things that the chosen ones who have been prepared for a time such as this was going through for a while. Some of you, even if you weren't on Patreon, you might realize that you've been going through major transformations in your life. Maybe there's a lot of things that you lost, that you built or you worked for. Things have been shifting. You're talking about long, long, dark nights of the souls. People being confused, like, what's going on? The reason that so many things were shifting is because God was preparing us. God was moving things that are not in alignment. Things that are not in alignment with God. Things that are not in alignment with the hope and the vision and the future that He has prepared for us. So the things that we were misguided to build, the things that we were misguided to manifest based off of the illusions of the matrix, God made sure, no. If that wasn't something that I built, if that wasn't something that I told you to do, and if you didn't do it 100% through me and by me, gone. I know what many people are thinking. I did do everything in God, but I lost my house. I did do everything in God, but I lost my job. It's not a conversation of not doing things by God, but we have to understand that we can have all the intent in the world, but if your intent is flawed based on your perspective and based on your knowledge, it's still going to have unintended consequences. People have the purest intention of all day, but let me give you an example because that went over a lot of people. Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Let's say you have a person and they're like, the only thing I just want to be, I want to marry this person, or I want to be with this person because I love them. They might really think that. They might be like, I'm a loving person, I'm a caring person, I just want to be with this person, I want to take care of them. That's what they understand, and that's what they think from their perspective of what they know about themselves. But with that same person, if you start to do some work and if you start to pull back some layers, you might realize that it's like, no, it's not necessarily you don't want to be with this person because you love this person. Maybe it's that you want to be with this person because it makes you feel security. Maybe you have abandonment issues. And maybe you being with this person is not really so about loving them, but it's more so of seeking the things that you need for yourself. But most people would be like, no, I really love this person, not realizing that it's like, do you really though? Or is it more so about you? I don't even know if that example translated, but for those of you who understand what I'm saying, you understand what I'm saying. That's why when people say my intention is good, I don't care about intention, because if you don't know yourself and if you're not clear about the machine or the mechanism that you're operating under, then your intention is irrelevant, because that's what you think your intention is consciously, but that's subconsciously not what it is. And then this is even things where we'll see certain people with manifestation or certain communities where it's like you're forcing things into your life, right? And then it ends up in a certain type of way. And it's like, well, how did this happen? My intention was pure. From your perspective, your intention was pure. But if your perspective is flawed, then so is going to be your intentions, okay? So not even to get off on a tangent on that, make sure that right now you're thinking bigger. I also want everybody to understand that this is a huge world. It's not scary. And probably the situation that you're in is actually scarier than other places that you could be experiencing right now. As somebody who is in the United States, my family immigrated to the United States many years ago. I'm the first born in the United States. Very proud of that. Always was proud of that, especially how my parents decided to do that. And I was able to benefit from that. My family was able to benefit from that in many ways, right? But the thing about it is, me being a person who was born here, and I've experienced other places, including my home country, but a person who's born here, one thing that I remember and I know, and I'm able to see clearly now that I wasn't able to see, which is a program of the United States. And this is for anybody listening. If you are in Nigeria or in any other places, Jamaica, the UK, Australia, Japan. Well, Australians are probably straight. They're probably not trying to leave Australia. But like wherever you are, I want people to understand that the United States is Hollywood. One, it's a corporation, it's not a country. Two, it's Hollywood. Look at the president of the United States and his cronies. I can't call them his cronies. Look at the president of the United States and his thugs. Okay? The president of the United States is a person who plays the role of a businessman. Now, people will be like, oh, he's a business guy. What better than the business guy to run and figure out the policy for the economy? Look into this business guy's history. I'm not going to get into it here. There's plenty of documentaries. You can do the research for yourself. The dude has 34 felonies based off of the frauds that he's conducted. Right? He's not a businessman. He's never been a successful business person. But he did play the role of a businessman on The Apprentice. You're fired. He played a businessman. That's his acting role. Understand, that's an actor. I said that to say it's amazing to me how the country who has, to me, if you ask the largest export from the United States is entertainment. And do you know the other word that I really want to replace the biggest export of the United States with? Propaganda. Propaganda. Entertainment is not for your entertainment. It's to sell you things that you don't need. And it's also to condition and program your mind to images. Now, for those of you of us who are here, and this conversation for everybody, nobody's excluded. We're all inclusive over here on Pretty Boss TV. But I'm going to talk to a certain group of people in particular. Think about how, when you look at movies, black people, when you look at movies as a black person, and especially if it's a hood movie, or even if it's not a hood movie, how many times do they actually get it right? Even if they're trying to portray what a thug is in the black community. Especially when they try to portray what a thug is, and it's not by a director who really is black, it's horrible. It's nothing like reality of it in any way. And then when you take us, they'll portray us and many people from different countries who've never been here. Certain people will get surprised and be like, oh my God, I thought y'all were like this, or I thought y'all were like that. But it's because of it's because of entertainment. It's because of what they've shown the world about, the image that they've shown the world about us. Which, when you are us, when you are in the skin, you know that is the furthest thing from the truth. You know those stereotypes most definitely exist, but it's a very small minority of us. So it's very disrespectful, right? But same thing they do in the opposite way. When they show you other countries, what do they show you? When they show you Africa, what did they show us growing up? All the genocides, all the starving kids. They didn't show us the beaches. They didn't show us Kenya. They didn't show us Tanzania. They didn't show us what's really going on in South Africa. They didn't show us that. They showed us the starving kids on them commercials and genocide. That's what they showed us about Africa. When they talk about these other countries, Asian countries, what do they always make it seem like these are different third world places? When they talk about Hispanic countries, third world, this and that, developing this and that. But have you been to any of these places? So this is what I'll say for everybody watching this. One, I already got the prophetic message out. Leave the United States. Figure it out. Where there's a will, there's a way. And there's plenty of places where it's easy to go with just a passport. If you don't have a passport, at least please get your passport. Please. Do that. But if you don't decide to go, just get your passport. Make sure that you should always have a passport. Okay? Un pasaporte. Get that done, or make sure that you get it updated. But the thing that I will want to leave as I'm saying this is question everything. Because imagine if what they showed you about the world and everything else is actually opposite of the truth. Just like how they represent many of us, not even just black people. I'm speaking for black people specifically because I'm somebody who people would put in the black category based off of appearance. So that's why I'm speaking for that, because I've had that experience primarily, I guess I would say, right? But even for other cultures, like other people who are different cultures, you probably see where it's like all of us are not like that. Like, for instance, one of my best friends growing up is Korean. Best friend, like my boy. He's in Atlanta now, in a different part of Atlanta. I got up with him like a few years ago. We chopped it up. One of my best friends, those of y'all who was at the meet and greet in November, y'all met my other best friend. I actually met him after who I'm talking about, my Korean best friend. So it was so funny because we used to always get on him because we went to a magnet school. So all of us was like smart students, right? Before I went back to my regular school. But everybody in this school was like supposed to be the smartest students in the city going to this school, right? And so we used to always get on him like, what? Boy, we used to be like, why you so dumb? I thought you were smart. Now, of course, relatively, no, he wasn't dumb. He was making great, like he did what he needed to do. But we just used to be like, ain't you supposed to be just like a genius? You know, like we all had better grades. We all have better grades. So, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to him. I love him. I ain't gonna say his name. But it's like, we all had better grades. So that used to be like a running joke between all of us. We was all friends though. So we all hung out. So it's like, we used to get on him like, well, ain't you supposed to be smart? And then his cousin was smart. His cousin was doing circles around everybody. I'm not gonna lie. His cousin was doing circles. Look, remember I told y'all about the school I graduated from, valedictorian. But when I went to a magnet school at first in 9th grade. And I'm usually like, every school I go to, I usually, when it come award day, I'm getting all the awards. I never forget, in 9th grade, we went to the award ceremony. I got one award. His cousin got all the rest of them. Like, killed everybody. I'm like, that. I even got drilled in Spanish. I didn't even get the Spanish award, and I'm Hispanic. So I'm like, dang, the only one that I got the award for was English that year. I never forgot that, because that's the first year that ever happened to me. So to make a long story short, it was funny because even though we used to joke and be like, boy, ain't you supposed to be like smart? Ain't you supposed to be like your cousin? Da da da. We used to make jokes about it, but that came from a place of, these are the stereotypes, that every single Asian person is smart or at a certain level of intelligence. And many of them are. I'm not saying that it's not, but I'm just saying it's still a stereotype, and it's not true about every single Asian. Just like there's stereotypes about Mexicans, not true about every single Mexican. Stereotypes about black people, not true about every black person. You know, and so on and so on. There's many different things. I'm just throwing, certain stuff out there. The people who are mostly typecasted in certain specific ways. But it's like, there's a whole world out there. Next time, and especially for those of you who even had the thought, or you feel like, I think I do need to start traveling or moving, just ask yourself this question. What do you know about a country because you've been there? Don't tell me what you've seen, what you've heard, what they've showed you, but what do you know about a place because you've been there? And now it's beautiful because in the United States, we have Facebook, you got Facebook groups, you got YouTube. So now we're able to have these experiences and talk to each other and be able to really get around the world differently, because we have other people that we can connect with easily, no matter what part of the world you're in, where you can get real experience, real feedback, real help. But remember that for those who've been born and raised on the plantation in the United States, and I'm not talking about any specific color, I'm talking about everybody who here. Everybody. Unless you're just a 1%er, unless you are part of the group of people who was standing behind Big Man Orange at the inauguration, unless you're one of those that was standing behind him, we on the plantation out here. paying bills to work, pay taxes, working to pay all your taxes, to now you already see what they want to do with the taxes. This country's not set up for you. And when people start to make it in this country, when people who are not supposed to make it, like classes of people, because understand this is bigger than color, but they love to make it everything about race in the United States, because this is how you keep power. You divide and conquer. If you keep people arguing amongst themselves, y'all up here eating, they're doing the dirt for you. But a lot of people still misunderstand. Some of us don't misunderstand that. We know, and we've been living it. But there's still a lot of people that understand that this is not a race war. This is a class war that we've been living in. And there's an unofficial caste system in the United States. And many people who's on that lower side of that caste system started to come up, especially in my generation. We're full of nothing but self-employed people. Like millennials, shout out to millennials. We broke through doors and we changed the game. We didn't take the path that the baby boomers told us to take before us. We paved a new way. Now everybody, Gen Z, even baby boomers, is moving the way that millennials strongly was moving when we weren't built to move like that. Nobody taught me to be a business person. And all of my friends, none of us came from that. I'm just going to be honest. All of my friends, everybody around me, we're really like first generation. Probably only one person, one of my more recent friends, their father does, kind of moves like that. But other than that, all of the rest of my business friends, everybody I've never met, we first generation. Ain't nobody tell us to go do a business. Our parents told us the same thing they told y'all: go to school, go to the military. That's what they told us too, So, but many millennials, for some reason, my generation, we knew, like, no, that don't work. That's barely even working for y'all. So I said that to say, there's an entire world out here. Even our Pretty Boss TV, we've been talking about wealth building. That's all we're going to be talking about all year. We're not talking about getting money. We're not talking about getting little views on YouTube. We're talking about building wealth, building legacy, creating solutions. And even for those of you that are listening to this, that this resonates with, if you feel a way, even for those of you who you like, no, I do feel a way, especially now. Because a lot of people feel a way now, not because of just who's in office. I'm going to tell y'all something now. I'm a person that, if we're talking, because I believe in the United States, I never really bought the Democrat or the Republican. I'm like, it's two birds of the same feather, and they choose who they want to choose anyway, which I still do believe that, but I still vote anyway just because, right? But if I'm being honest, my values are conservative in terms of how I think, especially about finances. Like, I'm a very conservative person. I'm not really that liberal in a lot of, like, how I feel about things in life. I'm going to be honest. But I'm able to compartmentalize, and I wasn't going to vote based on that in this election. That's crazy. All right. So some of you who are listening and made it to the end of this video, you may feel like you're ready. What's going on. You see what's going on, and it doesn't fit right. It doesn't see right. You see what's going on. Leave. Don't complain about it. Don't complain about it. Don't fight. Don't sit here and watch your wealth get wiped away and then watch them drain everything out of this country. They're talking about draining the swamp. How ironic. You are the swamp. The swamp is draining the people for themselves. There are certain things that I could get into that will blow your mind in terms of what's really going on. I don't have time for that. This is not the channel. I don't care about that. I'm here for solutions. Okay? Do the YouTube research. Look and see. Look and see the tax incentives that some of these big companies and people had back in 2020. That the 5-year plan to start it dried up in 2025. It's a particular year. This is a very specific year. But while they're distracting you with the chaos, I mean, people are never paying attention in the United States because everybody's entertained. What did Jay-Z say? What did they say on Sparta? The Spartans. Are you not entertained? You entertain Americans. You can abuse them. That's fine. You can abuse, misuse, mistreat them, disrespect them. But if you give them a little bit of entertainment, they'll be okay. That's the United States method and antidote, and that's the culture of the United States. If you are here and you feel like this is not the country that you thought it was, this is not what you signed up for, leave. It's very easy to leave. And actually, it'll probably be one of the best decisions you ever made, depending with the proper research. There are so many places that you can go for extended amounts of time, even just on a passport alone. Get your passports. I keep seeing something. I don't know if this is true, but I keep seeing people be like, they were not doing passports or something like that. I don't know. I made sure all my passports and everything like that was in order before the election came across, because I don't have time for none of that, right? No time for delays. But if you feel away, leave and understand you can do it, and you will be saving money. And that's if you leave. You know, you don't have to stand for anything. You can leave. Let's say you leave and you lust for this place, you can come back. Leave. That's a very viable solution, and more people need to start thinking about that, because a lot of people feel like they just have to sit here and take the abuse of the United States that some of us have endured for way too long, and more than other people here in the United States. Leave. You don't owe anybody anything. Why die and why suffer the consequences of something that you didn't create? Why suffer the consequences? You don't have to be in the midst of what other people have chosen. You know, this is funny, and I'm gonna close off on this, because I could be here talking for like an hour. I was supposed to record more videos. I might just upload this one tonight since it's already so long. I was thinking about it, and all the people who got deported, what if it was actually a blessing? That hit me today. I hadn't had that thought at all, because one thing about God is it says all things work together for good. And the only sad thing that I feel bad about is that it's a lot of people who got deported that didn't vote for him. And I'm not talking about the idiot Latinos that I do not claim that was for Trump. We got that in the Hispanic community. I don't claim none of those. I'm happy they exposed themselves. But you got to remember that colonization happened all around the world. So it's a lot of people who have a demented mentality, and they don't see themselves the way they are. They see themselves they want to be, because they're trying to buy into the image of what America. But it's like, no, no. So anyways, I feel bad, especially for some of the Mexicans that got deported. All they do is come here and work, keep their hand at the table. They didn't vote for that, but their people voted for that because they wanted them out of here. You understand what I'm saying? And I was thinking to myself, because I was like, that's so dirty. Like, I volunteer. I'm bilingual. The place I volunteer at, the reason I volunteer there, I'm in the food pantry in specific. The reason I volunteer there is because I am bilingual. And so I'm there to help when we have our Hispanic people to come in. Me and my mother, she's at the front desk, and I'm in the pantry area, and we're the two bilinguals in there that helps. Now, matter of fact, now I think about it, the only two bilinguals. So even when I saw from the election how many people just didn't even want to come to get help, didn't want to come to get food, they were scared to go outside, and I'm like, I know none of them people vote for him. I feel so bad about that. But it hit me today, and I was like, what if that is God protecting them? Cry now, laugh later. Get out of this country if you can get out of this country. Money's not everything. And the money that the United States had, it doesn't. Some of the worst debt. Many countries are dropping the United States dollar. There are new agreements coming together. What's happening is the maniac and his thugs are isolating the United States, and what's going to happen is going to cripple the people in the United States. It's going to cripple the economy. It's going to cripple a lot of things. And by the time people are so crippled, so broke, so poor, so hurt, that's when they're going to want to fight back, but they're not going to have the energy. They're not going to have the food in their bellies. They're not going to have the resource. They're not going to have the ability to do it. And that's when it's going to be too late. We have time. And I'm going to tell y'all something now, even before I close out. Even if they reverse everything, even if they say, you know what, we're undoing this, we're putting somebody else in there. Matter of fact, we're going to put Biden back in there. Matter of fact, we're going to even put Kamala in there. leave. Leave. They've showed you that the democracy was always a lie and it's over. If you can put people in there that can do what they're doing, disrespecting the Constitution of the United States, what good is a Constitution if it's not enforced? What good is a Constitution if you can be a 34 count felon? How can you be a felon in the White House, but a felon can't even vote for the person that's in the White House? This game has always been played in the United States. It's always been a double-edged sword. It's always been forward tongue in the United States. It's always been a game. It's always been a trap. It's never been set up for certain people. And the certain people I'm talking about, I know some of y'all thought I'm talking about a particular color. It's never been set up for the people. It's never been set up for the citizens. It's set up for a corporate interest of a few. And then they take the people who they all see as the same and make them fight against each other, because then they're like, it's about race. And some people in the United States will just never get over that, because that's all they know. That's their culture. Some people, racism is their culture. They're nothing without racism. That's all they know. But pay attention. And for some of you, like I said, some of you, this was the gasoline and the wake-up call, but you'd already been being led to move. We're talking about international business. We're talking about making moves worldwide. We're talking about building wealth. The wealth of this country has already been established. Okay, yeah, you want to become an NBA player, a football player. You want to do a business that perhaps maybe one day you can sell out for $1 million or $1 billion. How many United States citizens are actually going to rise to those levels of success, though? How many people have dreams? How many people that now they have kids, and the kids are like, I want to do this, and the parents is like, no, don't do it. You know why the parents are so negative? You know why people shoot your dreams down? Because they had those same dreams and they didn't come to pass. Because it's a little bit more complicated than what things seem like. You got to be willing to play a different game out here. So, understand that for some of you, it's not even about politics. Like, I'm beyond this. Like, I don't feel like I'm in the United States, because I've already been gone and I actually am leaving. But the thing that I would say is, make sure, take time to think bigger and really pay attention. The wealth of this current government structure, of this current country so far, because I don't know how much longer this country is going to last in the grand scheme of things. It's a baby country. It's not even 400 years old compared to like so many other nations that existed for, centuries. The thing about it is, a lot of what people are trying to do here has already been done. And a few might squeeze through the surface of it, but it's really too late. The way I turned back in 2020, when I flipped my $2,000 and put my first $2,000 into the stock market, the way I turned $2,000 into $70,000 within less than a year through flipping on day trades was because I have one philosophy. I like to buy low and sell high. Okay. And so the dream that you have is possible. Probably not here, though. You could try, but even if you got so much money, why would you waste it? Why would you buy high? Why wouldn't you go somewhere where you can buy low? And I'm not saying this by being disrespectful, or I think it's very disrespectful when people say, oh, these countries are cheap. It's a different way of living. It's a different life. It's different standards. So this is not saying, I'm not trying to compare it in that way, but I'm using an example for those of you who are actively on the wealth building. There's so many places you could build wealth. true wealth. And not only build wealth, but you could build community. There's other places in the world where community actually exists. Where does community exist in the United States? Other than the hood, that's probably the only place the communities is left. Because somebody right now, the way the world is, somebody could be literally getting attacked or something going on. People on their cell phones. People mind their own business. People are not neighborly like that. It's not the same as it was. Community is not community. There are still places in the world where people have communities, where people are neighbors, where people are friendly, where people love other human beings. Not because of what car they drive, but because of who they are. Not because of what house they stay in, but because they have a relationship. Not because how much money they got or because of that Balenciaga bag. Does Balenciaga make bags? I don't know. Maybe so. But there's so many other ways to live. We're in a rat race over here. Chasing after cheese that's not going to be caught in this system. But when you leave this system, the possibilities are endless. Those of you that really want to build wealth, don't be scared. It's time for us to fly. I got my master's degree in international business. I don't think I ever mentioned that, and now it's making so much sense. I already have been scouted and vetted countries that I wanted to do business in many years ago. This is an international, global society, a global economy. The way that certain characters are isolating certain countries, that's not the world we live in. So don't allow anything or anyone to box you in. If you've been feeling led to leave the United States, as soon as you get off this video, start taking action steps towards that. If you don't have a passport, figure out how to get a passport. Do that. Do that this week. Do that tomorrow. It's very simple. You go to CVS, tell them you need passport photos. They'll take your passport photo, give it to you. Then you go up to the thing and you fill it out at the post office, the USPS. You pay what you need to pay for it. All the information is online. Take your documents. You might need to take, have your social security numbers or whatever. But take action. Even if you're like, I don't know if I'm ready to leave out. Start visiting. Start going to other places. Start seeing the world for yourself. Because we've been lied to over here. And certain people like me, we've always known it was a lie. I'll give you a little bit of context. My mother gave me Behold a Pale Horse when I was 12. That's when I read Behold a Pale Horse. People still have not read Behold a Pale Horse. Like, people can miss me with all the YouTube video conspiracy theories like Behold a Pale Horse, right? If you know, you know. So I've been awakened to things long ago. But you still have that hope. Because it's the fantasy, it's the dream, it's the illusion, it's Hollywood. They cast a spell. They cast a spell on everybody with their Hollywood. And we thought it was just in the movie theater, but who knew it was it was everything. Everything here has been built off of illusion that is false. And that dream is starting to have cracks in it because people are starting to see through the lies. Because the fruit is bearing. So, if you've been feeling led, take this as confirmation and just know that God is going to lead you every step of the way. And I said this on Patreon earlier today, and I'll close with this. For those of you who this video really is for, the only regret that you're going to have when you do leave is that you didn't do it sooner. Okay? I love y'all. A lot of stuff going on. We have an event coming up. All the information is on prettybosstv.com. Patreon.com/prettybosstv if you want to be part of the chosen community. Love y'all. Talk to y'all soon. Y'all willing. Peace.